We look at our SME as a relationship. We are not just providing financial service. We are actually partnering our customers and helping them through their journey, being true to our tagline, partner in progress. If you look at Sri Lanka, out of the total enterprises that are listed, around 80% is SMEs. And if you look at the contribution of SMEs to GDP, it's over 50%. And if you look at the total employment, over 45% of employees or people who are employed in the SME sector. So that gives you a fairly good understanding that you need to really drive SME growth if you really want to drive development in the country. It needs to be driven through growth in SMEs. Now, we talk about income inequality. We talk about over 50% of the country's GDP concentrated in the Western province. If you really want to bridge the income inequality and drive development beyond the Western province, then that growth can't come from corporates or from multinationals. It needs to be driven through SMEs. So that's why it's so important that the country drives growth through SMEs. So there's a huge obligation for us as bankers, private institutions, as well as the government to drive SMEs. But unfortunately, I don't think Sri Lanka has done enough for SMEs. Out of the total HNB loan book, 30% is in micro and SME. And that's been a very important component of our loan book. So if you look at HNB, we started doing business 130 years back, way back in 1888. And not in Colombo. We started in Hatton. So our main focus was actually driving SMEs. So we didn't start in Colombo and move out. We actually started outstation and moved to Colombo. So our market has always been driving SME business. And that's something we understand very well. We have 250 branches spread across the country, over 100 SME RMs, over 150 barefoot bankers or Gamipubudua bankers who actually help micro customers. So a total ethos has been actually driving rural banking, driving microfinance and driving SME business. So that's why we have so many brands that actually cater, like the Gamipubudua flagship brands that cater to SME or to micro rather, that's a more micro brand. And this was done way before microfinance actually became fashionable. So we have been doing this business for so many years. So, and it'll continue because one, it's very close to HNB. And more importantly, the country needs it. At this point, if the country really needs to come out of where we are and to see, it's not only economic growth in numbers, but if you really want those numbers to be reflected in the living standard of the general public going up, then that growth needs to be driven through the SMEs. They need to drive the growth, not through few companies in the Western province. When we were small, we were told that you should be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, accountant, but nobody told you that you need to be a good businessman, you need to be a good entrepreneur. So that itself is a cultural issue that Sri Lanka has because we don't bring up enough entrepreneurs. So that's a major issue, and I think that needs to change. But let's say somebody has an interest, they have an idea, they want to take the risk and start a business. One of the huge issues to put that idea into practice is the lack of capital. Because Sri Lanka, as a low middle income country, has a huge scarce on capital. Now, in another country, if you look at, there are institutions like angel funds, you get venture capitalists, PE funds that help SMEs, support them with capital in different stages of their life cycle. But we don't have that institutional support in Sri Lanka. So that's a major challenge on capital. So that's one. Number two is the market. SMEs, whether they have access to market. One is, there is so much that SMEs can do within Sri Lanka, right? It's an island with 20 million people. When they get bigger, if they really want to grow, they need to look at outside the boundaries of the country. So how much of access these SMEs have into export market is a big challenge. Are we doing enough for SMEs to find export markets? Then even SMEs that are outside the Western province, do they have access to markets like in Colombo? Take a good example, let's say agriculture. How much of agriculture get wasted because we don't have proper transportation and we don't have proper storage? Estimation is over 30% get wasted, and that's significant. And I don't think we are doing enough to actually solve this problem. And then going into new techniques, new technology. Do SMEs have access to new thinking, new methods? Does the country do enough on R&D to support SMEs? Not really. Even if somebody has maybe want to adopt new techniques, new technology, they might lack capital to do that. So that's another major challenge in terms of adopting new techniques, new technologies in SME business, be it agriculture, be it manufacturing, be it anything else. Then going into governance, going into record keeping, professional management, because some of these SMEs, unfortunately, the entrepreneurs tend to manage their business the way they started it at the time they started it. They don't really evolve with the organization evolving. So as a result, you don't have proper bookkeeping, you don't have proper records, you don't have professional managers brought in. And that's a huge challenge for growth. It's a huge challenge for attracting capital. And as a result, what also happens is that money gets diverted into unrelated investments. The money that is needed in the business, which adds so much of pressure on working capital requirements. And that's a huge challenge. So that's something that needs to be addressed. So these are some of the main challenges I see within the sector. And also another one would be succession, because most of these entrepreneurs, since they don't bring professional management, the whole organization is dependent on them. And sometimes their children are not capable to take that forward, or some children are not interested in taking it forward. So another major issue is succession. So these are some of the major issues that SME sector is grappling with that needs to find solutions. So if you look at the last half a decade, Sri Lanka has been going through significant issues, I would say, starting from the constitutional crisis in 2018 to the Easter Sunday attack in 2019 to COVID in 2020 and the economic crisis last year. So what this has done is that, one, it has significantly reduce the demand and therefore a reduction in revenue. So their revenues have gone down substantially. On the other hand, inflation went up to almost 100%. The rupee depreciated by almost 70%, which means the cost has escalated on the other. Revenue coming down on one hand, cost going up on the other. Then the third is interest rates went up to 30%. So significant impact on financial cost. So all these have significantly impacted not only SMEs, all businesses, but large corporates has the muscle to withstand some of these pressures, and SMEs don't. And it's over a period of 4 years, and especially industries like tourism has been really feeling the brunt of it. But not only tourism, all other industries to different varying has actually gone through this issue. So that has been a major impact, and we have seen a lot of good SMEs actually going down over the last few years because of these factors. So for the last 4 years, I think if you look at some of these companies, they have been under moratorium for almost the whole period, starting from 2019 onwards. So there was a time during the height of COVID, almost 40% of HNB's book was under moratorium. So that's the amount of concessions we have granted. But of course, most of these customers have moved out. We have been able to revive their businesses, and they have started repayment. And even with the repayment, we have not just gone back to the old repayment schedules that they had to follow, but we have worked with these customers, understood their cash flows, the new cash flows. And based on that, we have tailored repayment patterns or repayment schemes for these customers so that they can comfortably service their loan while there are still certain constraints that are there with the business. So that's number two. Number three is interest rates. So interest rates went to 30%. So at that point, for most SME customers, we actually gave them fixed rates because if we had pegged it to AWPL, our rates would go over 30%. So we actually gave them lower rates. And there were times we were charging corporates probably more than what we were charging SMEs, because usually corporate rates would be lower, of course, because of their risk profile being very much different. But when rates went up, we actually reversed it. And there were SMEs that were charged lower rates than even corporates in order to give that concession, help the customers get through this issue. Then, even though customers were under moratorium, we continue to support them with their working capital requirements, and that continues so that they can get through this difficult period. And then for essential imports, even when there were lack of dollars in the market, we continue to support essential imports, and that's something we continued. So those were some of the things we did in the short end. In terms of long end, in terms of the strategy going forward, we look at our SME as a relationship. It's not a transaction. It's not a loan that we give and forget. It's about how we partner our customers and then look at what are the challenges that customer has and how we as a partner can help the customer overcome some of these challenges. Now, HNB, our bread and butter is doing debt funding, and that's something we have done for over 130 years, and that we continue with giving short-term working capital finance, in-term loans, trade loans, all that. But in addition to that, we also have our JV investment bank, which helps customers. If a customer requires equity, they will come in. Let's say if the customer is ready or a SME is ready to move in and get listed, they will help them to list. If not, they want private equity, they will try to source private equity. And we even have a venture capital arm within our equity group, which will bring in venture capital funding if required. So that's on the capital side of it. Moving into markets, so we have these Gamipubudua Aurudu Polas each year in BMICH, where we bring so many micro customers into Colombo and give them a market to sell their products. Similarly, we also have something called, recently we actually brought this in, called Solo Podi Podi business, where we give branch space for small SMEs or small micro customers to come and sell their products in our branches to our customers. So we're trying to create a market there, and that's something we do. We have something called Solo Polas, where we go around the country, where we bring in SME micro customers and help them to sell their products. So this is something that we do in finding markets for customers. In addition to that, we also have partnerships. There is a partnership with Cord 360, where their platform helps our customers find export markets. The SME customers who are aspiring to go overseas, help them find export markets. So in addition, we also have partnerships with e-commerce platforms and help our SME customers on board and go into e-commerce. So that's something that we do. And then we also provide various digital payment platforms like AppyGo, Solo, WebEx Pay, where we are trying to digitalize our customers' business and do digital transactions and move out of cash. So that's something we do. Then in terms of providing new methods, new technology, helping our customers understand what are the new things that are happening out there and how they can improve what they are doing. So good example is the partnership we have with Sri Lanka Agripreneur Forum, where we do workshops to farmers where they come and show the new techniques that are there and help farmers develop these new techniques. In addition to that, we continue doing our financial literacy programs across the country. So we do that to mostly micro customers so that we update them with new thinking on the financial side. Then, in addition to that, we also look at channeling low-cost funding to our SME customers. We have partnerships with the likes of ADB, USAID, DFC, Central Bank, Regional Development, Ministry of Finance to get subsidized loans and route it to the sectors that need those funding. So maybe over the last 6 months, we would have disbursed over 5 billion rupees worth of subsidized loans to our customers. So this has been a significant benefit to our customers, where interest rates are over 20% when they get rates, single-digit rates through these funding lines. So that we will continue. We also look at driving youth entrepreneurship. We drive women entrepreneurship, which is needed for the country. And also, we are the only bank to provide free keyman insurance policies to our customers. Because of the relationship, because of the partnership we have with our subsidiary HNB Assurance, we are able to collaborate and provide this service or provide this benefit to our customers. So with all this, you see that we are just not providing a loan. We are not just providing financial service. We are actually partnering our customers and helping them through their journey, being true to our tagline, partner in progress.